Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And I am watching a movie which is as old as I am. Surprisingly, like I mentioned in a previous video, I was planning on watching a lot of, uh, you know, couple of franchises which I've never seen before, and I'm trying to get into them. So, like for example, I had never watched the Mission Impossible movies, and I have sat and watched all seven of them. I'm not going to review them; it's very difficult for me to review something like Mission Impossible, but I did watch all seven of them. I'm excited for the next two that's coming along. I did watch the four movies of Scream, by the way, which I'd only watched the first one and never seen the other three, but I did watch it. So these couple of franchises which I've never watched before completely, and I did watch. Another one is Rocky, the Rocky movie series, which is surprising for me because I tend to watch a lot of Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, especially growing up. I have watched some of this though, but I haven't watched the full. I can't remember ever sitting down and watching the movies in their entirety. But I do know the storylines a little bit here and there, and I do know like parts of it are ingrained in my memory because I think my dad would have watched it when I was growing up. Probably my uncles have watched it as well, so I think I've seen snippets of it here and there. But anyway, this is the first time that I'm actually sitting down and watching the first movie, Rocky, in its entirety. And I think for the first half, it's kind of difficult for me to actually really get into it because there is no music in the background. And that felt kind of odd. It felt like a really low budget film. And to be honest, I think it is a low budget movie. It's um, it was made on a budget of $960,000, and that would be equivalent of say 4.37 million in 2020. Yeah, so it is low budget. But it just felt a little odd for a while. But towards the latter half of the film, it actually does pick up quite a bit, and I wasn't really worried about the. I mean, it didn't feel odd the way it was in the beginning. So again, I'm not going to say the full storyline, but this movie is basically about a rags to riches story of a unknown boxer, a 30-year-old guy who's been struggling most of his life, boxing here and there, and making most of his money by being an enforcer for a loan shark in the slums of Philadelphia. He wants to do something with his life, but he isn't getting any breaks. Um, when you see the movie, he's having gotten beaten up, just want to fight, removing taxes and everything. He actually gets like $40 or something like that, $35. Um, and I'm thinking like that's it, but yeah, this is 1976 after all. And you know, he is thrown out of the usual locker that he does in the local gym because the owner of the gym, who is a former boxer and who's now age, sees that Rocky could have done something with his life, but he's just lazy or he has never amounted to much. So he kind of looks down at him. And then finally, the chance comes up when the world champion, I keep forgetting the name, Apollo Creed, that's the name, played by Carl Weathers. He's actually in Philadelphia, promoting a fight with another boxer. Unfortunately, that guy breaks his hand. So they decide, do you want to look for somebody else? And he says, okay, why not give a local up and running guy, give him the chance at the belt? And so he picks Rocky because the Rocky goes by the tag name or the the name, the ring name, kind of like the Italian Stallion, and he just likes that. He says that's really interesting, that's really American to see a name like the Italian Stallion. And so he picks up, and initially Rocky is very surprised, but then he starts training. He meets up with his friend Paulie, who works in a meat packaging company, and he uses the cuts of beef to actually practice. And Paulie really wants in on becoming because for this fight Rocky can get paid $130, sorry, $130,000, something like that. $150,000. So obviously that is huge money back in 1976. So he can afford to pay Paulie a little bit. The owner of the gym, he comes and asks for a chance to become his manager is train him and all that stuff. And initially, Rocky rebukes him for never having given him the chance, never, having always looked down on him. But finally, he relents and he gets that. That's when you can actually see Sylvester Stallone's acting prowess at that time. And make no, and I would say this: Sylvester Stallone can really act. Contrary to like the kind of movies some of that you've seen, like the expendable movies and all that, the big budget boom 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 kind of movies. But yeah, he can actually act. Just watch Cliffhanger, Cliffhanger, as well as what's the other film? Daylight. Daylight is one of my favorite movies. Probably is my favorite movie starring Sylvester Stallone. So on New Year's Day, and then Polly's sister is Adrian. Yo, Adrian! I can't say it the way. I know there's a Jim Carrey clip making fun of Yo, Adrian. But yeah, she is. It's actually Adriana, but she's called Adrian. Talia Shire, she plays the love interest. She's Polly's sister, and initially Polly asks her to go with Rocky on a date, and towards the beginning of the film, and he likes her. She's kind of shy, and but then they do start developing this relationship. So on New Year's Eve, I'm not spoiling anything, right? Because this is a very famous film. On New Year's Eve, what happens is there's a fight, and the fight starts with this ridiculous outfit of Uncle Sam. That's what Apollo Creed comes out in, the champ, and he is very cocky, and he starts he starts boxing with Rocky, but Rocky knocks him down in the first round, and then he knows, okay, he's got his work cut out for him. They basically beat the shit out of each other for 15 rounds, and nobody's ever done that before to Apollo Creed. So in the end, the champ is still the winner, because it's just by a decision of comes down to the decision. There's no real cut winner, but just by a hair, he's declared the winner. Rocky is completely in blood, soaked in blood, with all the cuts and bruises that he got, but all he's really looking forward to is meeting Adrian, and he calls her. She runs into the stage and they hug, and that's when the movie ends. So it is an underdog fighting against the very best of the world, the established best, and I think everybody can kind of relate to that, and maybe see themselves in that kind of position. Although he doesn't win, but still he does make a name for himself, and the crowd seems to be really into him. So that's basically Rocky in a nutshell for you. So if I were rating it in halves, the first half probably I would have given a 5 out of 10, but the second half I would give it a 9.5 out of 10. That's the big difference. So I think overall I'll give this movie an 8. Again, I'm not really sure what kind of frame of mind I would have to be to watch this movie again. I think 2, 3 and 4 they pick up a lot more. I'm looking forward to watching them. Probably might try to watch 2 this weekend, and then every weekend I'll try to watch one of the movies up to the last 2 Creed movies. So that's my rating and a little bit of review of Rocky. I also really love the guy who plays Paulie. I've seen him in a couple of other things. Burt Young, I've seen him, I think, in Back to School. Loved his character there, and loved his character here as well. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for me. Thank you guys, and have a good night.